Go Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.
Welcome, ladies, old and new to this podcast. This is the Ladies Lounge, and today we're going to be speaking about succession and inheritance. Back again with us today is Tlingi, who is our legal expert. She's been telling us about the law in Zimbabwe, what it means, when it comes to women's issues. So the last episode, we talked about divorce and we talked about civil partnerships, and that was very, very interesting. Welcome back, Tlingi.
Thank you, Chido.
All right. So we want to know, because these are hot topics, and I feel like as Africans generally, I'll speak to Zimbabwean people, we have not quite caught the concept of writing wills. Like, we all know we're gonna die, but for some reason no one prepares for that. And it's really very unfortunate. So, and it leaves those who are left now are in a quandary as to what to do, because clearly we also don't know the law when it comes to who gets what and who inherits what and what happens, and it becomes a whole brouhaha. So my first question would be, what is the law that talks about succession when it comes to Zimbabwe?
So it can be divided into two. We've got intestate succession, whereby a person passes on without a will or a testamentary document that speaks to what they want to happen to their estate in that event. And then we've got the intestate succession, where a person dies and leaves a will or a testamentary document speaking to what they would want to happen in that event. So the law is there to cover much where a person dies intestate, because where the person dies and leaves a will, the will does most of the job.
Pretty straightforward.
Yes, it's pretty straightforward, where the will is not challenged, by the way. Because the will can be challenged. It can be challenged. So where the will has been rendered to be valid, it speaks to what the deceased's wishes were in the event of their death. However, the law specifically will address issues where a person died intestate. So we've got quite a number of we've got the Deceased Estate Succession Act. So basically, in the past, what would happen, it still happens now, when the courts determine which law to apply when a person dies intestate, they look at how the person lived his life. Because if the person lived his life customarily, then customary laws of succession and inheritance will apply. But if the person died then the general law will apply. So because in Zimbabwe anyway, we cannot really do away with our customs. So the law will consider how a person lived their life before applying or imposing certain aspects of the law on that person's estate for the survivors of that person who's deceased.
I'm learning here. So maybe just enlighten us, Tlingi. What is customary law pertaining to inheritance and succession as compared to what is just the general law? Like, I've been staying in the urban areas for all my life, I'm a modern woman, etc. Like, how is that going to work? What's the difference?
The Deceased Estates Succession Act is applicable to a person whose lifestyle was governed by general law during their lifetime. And then the person who was living their life customarily, their property is distributed in terms of the Administration of Estates Act. Yes.
All right. So what does the Administration of Estates Act say? Is it like just, I think maybe for some of us who haven't really been Gumusha, but we know a little bit about Mostly people would say customarily is the firstborn son that gets everything, and then if they're kind enough or moral enough, they will share with their other siblings. Is that it, or?
No, not really. The law is much more fair than
because that was suspect.
Yeah, because I mean, the point of the law is to ensure that justice is seen to be done.
Yeah,
not particularly that it is done, but just seen to be done.
Okay.
So the Administration of Deceased Estates Act applies to a person who died intestate, and especially when they were married under the unregistered customary law union. I think we spoke about that at large last time when we spoke about the types of marriages that are recognized in the country. So we've got the unregistered customary law union. And you've been living happily ever after until the unfortunate demise of the spouse.
Yeah.
So that marriage is the potentially polygamous one.
Yes.
So whether or not the deceased person dies and leaves one or more wives, the law that is applicable at the time of his death will be the Administration of Deceased Estates. So the way that the act words it is such that in instances where the deceased had more than one wife, 1/3 of the net estate is shared between the two wives, with the 2/3 being shared equally amongst the children.
Okay. So if he had more than 2 wives, it's still 1/3 for whatever number of wives, and then the 2/3 to the children.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So let's say, for example, there were 2 wives. The first wife is entitled to the 2/3 of the 1/3 of the estate, with the second wife being entitled to the 1/3 of the 1/3 of the net estate.
Levels.
That's a lot of mathematics for a lawyer.
I know, right? So
my head is spinning right now.
Wow. We're saying the first wife gets precedence and gets a lot.
Of course.
Then do the other, like 4 or 5 wives, share the 1/3 that's left?
It would seem so, yes.
Ooh, wow. I mean, but
I mean, the more wives he had,
yes.
I mean, probably the more cows. You know what I mean? The more there is for you guys to share.
Back then. Now I don't know.
Why would you go and be a 5th wife to a broke man?
I don't know.
Make it make sense.
Love.
Oh
okay.
my goodness.
All right. I think we're getting that. Okay. And then for the children, is there a specific order, like you're saying? The first wife gets more. What about the children? Do they just share?
Yes, they do, because the children are viewed equally.
Okay.
Yes. So whether or not the firstborn akazozwarwa a 3rd wife, and then the secondborn akazwarwa a 1st wife, they are all heirs of the deceased person. And also, if the wives lived in separate houses, each wife gets ownership of the house she lived in at the time of the deceased person's death, with all the household goods that are in there. And in instances where the wives live together, I don't know what bravery men have to allow this to happen, but in instances where the wives live together in the same house at the time of the deceased death, both of the wives get joint ownership of the house.
Okay.
And the joint or a joint usufruct over the house. So a usufruct is a legal term for the right of use.
Okay.
Let's say you don't own a place, but you have
both
you have the right of use, but it's a right that dies with you.
Okay.
It's not a right that can be
inherited as well
by your children.
Okay,
it's specifically attached to Chilo during her lifetime.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Ooh, we're gonna take a break and just really, self-internalize. I am definitely not doing polygamy. I don't think I have the backbone for it, but
you guys were convinced it's a good idea last time.
Ooh, no. I'm taking it back. We're gonna take a short break. And we're back talking about all things inheritance, all things customary law, death, wills not left, and things. This is hectic. I did not know all of these things, and I'm glad we're getting a chance to be enlightened. So, Cingi, tell us, you were talking about if someone is in an unregistered customary law union, what then happens when it comes to the male has died. What else can you tell us about that?
So we've got, in an instance where a man gets into an unregistered customary law union, in simpler terms, kana anorora zvechivanhu, and does not register that union, and then after that over anopinda mu civil marriage,
which is like a wedding and signing
signing a marriage certificate with another woman, then the unregistered customary law union is recognized as a valid marriage for purposes of inheritance.
So akabvisirwa achiri
maiguru
vachiripo.
vachiripo. And then on the other hand, if a man enters into an unregistered customary law union but has a subsisting civil union that is in place, remember the civil union is the monogamous, not potentially polygamous union. That unregistered customary law union is invalid.
Okay,
because he's already married.
He's already
to someone
married
else
in a monogamous marriage
union.
So he
that does not allow him to go and marry someone else. So zviri nani kutotanga zvenyu manovhisirwa manororana motozikanwa kuti ndomurora ndomai guru kana ndomai nini musati maita zvekuedhana number 2. Because what I identify as that is that the unregistered customary law union, as we discussed last time, is potentially polygamous.
Yes.
How he then decides to bring in the other wives is neither here nor there.
Yes.
Zvekuti he decided to bring them through a white wedding, kana kuti they are actually all recognized as spouses because it's a potentially polygamous marriage. But kana atanga ne a strictly monogamous union, he cannot then go and go marry someone else in an unregistered customary law union or in any other way, and that be recognized as a marriage or a valid union.
Yeah. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. So what we're saying is, if hypothetically speaking, I get married to my husband under a civil marriage law, right?
Yes.
I am the one and the only.
Yes.
So everybody else who's going to come in does not get anything, like spousally. But
their union is not recognized as a valid union.
Yes.
As far as the law on marriages is concerned.
Okay. What about the children from that union? Because we're talking about inheritance now. Do we recognize everybody because they are all of them are my blood? They all get something.
The children have done nothing wrong. The children have done nothing wrong. You can only maybe as a surviving spouse to a civil union, if you want to challenge the inheritance of children from your deceased spouses, by trying to prove that they are actually not his children. Hence they are not dependents. It goes back even to our how we look at or view dependence in the strict sense on even in medical aid policies. What is a dependent? It goes back to that. So if you then can prove to the court that these children are not entitled to inherit from my husband's estate because they are actually not his dependents, in that they are not his children, if you can prove that, then that's how you'd get away with it. But children have they can't really pay for their parents.
They're all equal in the sight of the law. Oh, that's interesting.
But we did away with the whole bastard child. Or, that's very cruel.
Yes, it was
law. Yeah. So also we can also maybe briefly touch on what happens if the deceased person is a woman, because it can happen either way.
Yes.
A woman can be survived by her husband, and we also I think people also deserve to know what should or what can happen to their estate should they die and leave their husbands. Kuti zvinozotorwa namainini here anozouya chichichi. So if the deceased person was a woman whose husband at the time of her death had more than one wife, she is survived by her husband and had one or more children, 1/3 of her estate, of her net estate, shall devolve upon her husband, and the remainder of her estate should devolve upon her child or her children in equal shares, as the case may be, and any of their descendants. Like, so your children and your husband take precedent. Then it then goes back to, I think, what we touched on briefly, that a surviving spouse cannot inherit what
things that have been inherited.
Yes, what their other spouse inherited, be it from a marriage or from family or anything that is of sentimental value in that way. And also that property can also not be distributed much as matrimonial property in the event of the dissolution of that particular union.
Oh, so my nini can come and say, oh, this is my house and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, because it was my husband's house and stuff, and it actually belonged to the late wife. Then it would rather be distributed to that woman's children.
Okay.
But Nyorai will.
Yes, so I think it's easier.
Yeah. Oh, actually don't, and make my colleagues money.
Oh, no, thank you. Okay, so just a question there. You said if something was of sentimental value, how do we prove sentimental value, Queenie?
Well, you can't really prove it. I don't know if you can basically prove it. I think it's on a balance of probabilities or, where it's just looking at reasonability to say, I got this one ring from my great-great-great-grandfather. It's been passed on from generation to generation. Now it's finally in my generation. It is likely to be passed on to my child or my children's children in the event that I am deceased. That particular thing, it's like a family thing. It cannot really be. Yes, it cannot really be then passed on to chidoyo akabvawo kwa moyo icho chiri chinhu chekwangwenya for generations and generations. It's just it's usually something that it can really be argued against and debatable, but I think the court has discretion to really decide, but it doesn't hurt to just allege it, to say yes, this is something of sentimental value because it has been passed on from generation to generation, or I got it as an inheritance, blah 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 blah.
Okay. Yes. I think as we close off, the most common problem that we face when it comes to administration of these estates, whether interstate or whatever, is what can I do? And I've actually firsthand witnessed these things happen. What legal steps can I take if my family members or my husband's family members grab the deceased property illegally? And now you just come back home, they've shut you out of your house, they've, taken all the cars, and they've decided they'll take the mombes. What do I do? Like, what's my first step? I think that's where we don't even know what to do in those situations.
Well, I'd say sue the living daylights out of them. Yes, actually sue them. But should you want guidance? I think the thing is, most of the times when a person dies, we do not think of registering their estate or winding up their estate. We're thinking, zvekumusha munotogara pasi zvonzi zvakugohwa chichi. But in the event that doesn't happen and there is property grabbing is actually illegal.
Okay.
That's why I was saying sue the daylights out of them. Sue the daylights out of them. And also, it's also then illegal to take the law into your own hands. Say maybe they came and grabbed Mombies, and then you can't then go to their house and pick up the Mombies and take them to your house, because they can actually sue you for doing that. So you go to court, or you go to the Master of the High Court. The Master of the High Court is the one that deals with deceased estates. You don't really have to go to the court directly, but you can go to the Master of the High Court and I want to register an estate. Ningi has passed on, and then it's actually a public office where they are actually supposed to help you the moment they see you, but most people don't know where to go or how to go about it. But yes.
All right. Whew, I think we can all agree with the people listening that this has been very informative. I think this is a very, very, very important topic that we fail to discuss, especially from a legal standpoint, on what goes on, what must we do. And I think the understanding that has come from this, that there's laws for those who didn't leave wills and those that left wills, is really, really helpful.
And those that were not married.
And those that were not married.
Should we die now? God forbid. But your surviving people are your parents, your siblings, in equal shares if you didn't have a spouse. So for the avoidance of doubt, it's the law doesn't only cater for people who were married.
Yes. True. All right, thank you so much, Tlingi. If you have any questions, any contributions, please leave a comment. Let us know if this is helping you at all. Let us know what more you'd like us to talk about. From us at the Ladies Lounge, it's goodbye.
I go Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.